Hi, I'm David Davis from Actual Tech Media, and I'm super excited to be here at the headquarters of HashiCorp. I'm joined by Mr. Chris Kent. He is a Senior Product Marketing Manager, and specifically for Vault. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on today.
For sure.
Glad to be here. So I've been a big fan of HashiCorp for a long time. I've tried a lot of the different tools on my laptop, and I've watched a lot of training courses, looked at a lot of your resources. We even had Mitchell Hashimoto on our podcast, our 10 on Tech podcast. So that was a real honor. So I know a lot of the folks in our Actual Tech Media audience out there, many of them are IT infrastructure type people. You know, they still might be running virtual machines, and maybe they have a development group, but they're still kind of trying to get a handle on exactly what is, Terraform, who is HashiCorp exactly, and what are the different, tools and that you all offer, and how can they help me?
Yeah.
And so I want to take a minute here and just kind of step back and first just tell us about HashiCorp and the different products and tools that you all offer.
Yeah, so HashiCorp as a whole is, we build software towards infrastructure automation. So we kind of look at that as four different kind of verticals, if you will, and it starts with provisioning, so the ability to dynamically and programmatically provision software, or not software, but infrastructure that your software will live on. So, and that's where Terraform kind of comes in.
Okay.
So Terraform is our product that is around automated provisioning through either collaborative workflows or just kind of across multi-cloud, different regions, different providers. And then on top of that sits Vault, which is our security layer. And Vault is our secrets management product that does everything based on identity. So whether it's working with your infrastructure, your different systems and applications, we centralize all the secrets management through that.
Okay.
And then on top of that is kind of our content kind of layer, the application layer, and that's Nomad. Nomad is our scheduling service, so essentially being able to pack the resources within the VMs that you're creating to run applications at scale. And then the fourth product that we do that kind of connects all of them is our console product. So service discovery that allows you to kind of connect and get a kind of a visual on where your infrastructure and your applications are. So our goal kind of as a company is to help companies that are migrating from kind of the static world of data centers and on-premise world into more of the dynamic world, which is multi-cloud and the idea of ephemeral workloads and all that.
Okay. So when you think about those companies, I mean, how does a traditional company typically learn about HashiCorp or get started? Like, what's the first product they typically need or use, or is there a specific use case if they start doing development or something, or how does it typically start?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and one of the more interesting things about our company is we have a lot of, or several open source software products that people are potentially using kind of traditionally that maybe don't know that HashiCorp is the company behind it. So we've built products like Vagrant and Packer and stuff like that. But on the products that we were just talking about, there's a lot of people that are running Terraform in kind of its own world, Console in its own world. A lot of people are using it for key value store. So different kind of pieces. So one of the interesting things about when we go to talk to potential customers is that a lot of them are actively actually using our open source products. So it's one of those really interesting things about our company where branding is actually probably more of the struggle for us than it is, that HashiCorp is the company behind it versus, Vault by itself. A lot of people in the security space are familiar with Vault. So it's just the idea that it's usually one product that kind of introduces people to what we call our stack, and then the idea that really they like to try to build upon maybe a problem they're trying to solve. So again, moving to kind of that the multi-cloud world kind of introduces a lot of different either struggles or there's gaps in technology from kind of the monolithic applications to when you're trying to migrate those workloads. So it kind of introduces a way for us to try to help solve that problem holistically.
Okay.
And again, that entry point is usually one of the other products that we have, and then that kind of introduces the conversation for, oh, we also do these other things, and this is how we do it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that was the case for me, actually. I talked to somebody in my neighborhood, actually, who's a developer, and they're like, oh, you're in IT. You must use Vagrant. You must know what Vagrant is. And I was like, no. Then I went home and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, wait, this is part of a whole suite of different tools. I need to learn more about these tools. So yeah, very cool. So tell me about, some of the use cases for very large companies. Maybe you can, mention a specific company who has used HashiCorp's tools in their development or in their cloud efforts.
Sure. Probably one of the more widely known products is Terraform, and that's because the way that we've kind of architected it is that it enables either individuals or companies to have a single workflow or a single point of provisioning in a multitude of different areas. So whether that's through like Amazon or Azure, GCP, all these different providers have their own kind of unique recipes or ways to build within their environments. And so what Terraform has done is kind of almost like decoupled that specificity down to more of a common language, so where you can provision these massive fleets of infrastructure just within a single workload instead of having to go to these different providers and do these kind of separate builds, if you will, or separate configurations. And so Barclays is a company that uses Terraform to kind of solve that problem, which is the idea that, again, that if you have multiple workloads and you're trying to, through a single point, create a bunch of different infrastructure, or you're trying to kind of manage that workflow, it's the idea that how do you do that within like a single extensible API, let's say. Part of it is also the idea with like Vault, for example. So the idea with Vault is, as you're moving from static to dynamic, you have the idea of potentially like secret sprawl, or you're having sensitive information in plain text that needs to get kind of controlled centrally through a workflow. So the idea that we manage everything based on your identity. So whether it's a machine or an application or an operator, that we could attach everything through a unique identity that allows you to either get the information you need or restrict policies so other people can't get in, those kinds of things. So it really depends on how you want to do it, but a lot of how we believe the approach should be taken from the standpoint of how we build things is all through a single workflow, so that everything can be centrally managed, whether that's provisioning, security, or applications. So.
Okay. So if we were to run through kind of the major products that you mentioned there in the stack, and correct me if I'm wrong, the different use cases, and you may need to help me fill in the blanks.
Sure.
So Terraform, say I want to bring up 1 or even 1,000 virtual machines or containers at one time in like a single runbook or script. Is that the use case of Terraform?
Essentially, yeah. So like runbook is, I think it's specific to Ansible, but it's that same kind of concept, right?
Okay.
So we have what's called, within Terraform, we have like a HCL, which is a HashiCorp common language. So it's the idea that this language can communicate with the different providers. So it could be Ansible, it could be a cloud provider, it could be a different CI/CD pipeline. But with Terraform, the use cases are around collaboration through workflows. So the idea, so Terraform is infrastructure as code at its core. So the idea being that you can collaborate on how you're building stuff through code. So different developers can contribute code, there can be versioning to it. And then the idea that you're managing these workloads through that same kind of infrastructure as code mentality. And then the idea with like workspaces, or the idea that you can kind of segment off these different kind of compartments or abilities based on who they are. With Vault, the use cases are kind of, there's 3 of them. So identity-based security is the first one, or identity-based access. So we restrict access or permit access to like sensitive information or encryption or whatever based on your identity. And then the other 2 are secrets management and encryption as a service. So the idea being that you can encrypt data, or you can get sensitive information like secrets for applications. And then console, we have service segmentation, service discovery, and then service connectivity. And then with Nomad, it's more around the idea of, again, like the containerized, the scheduling services there. So
Okay. And I know we're going to have another video coming up because you're the expert on console. We're going to talk about some big new announcements around console. But I really appreciated this overview on HashiCorp and all the different tools. Thank you so much for your time today, Chris.
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.